I am sorry that I was a tad late. He's going to do something. I'm going to go get something to drink. I'm not feeling well.
Oh. Okay, folks. Sound check, video check. I know we got at least one there.
It's my strawberry watermelon.
Got that.
Hello, all. Sound and video check, please. How are we sounding? Can anybody hear this?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear
Yeah,
me now?
that's what I'm waiting for. And thank you, David. I'm trying to take care.
I presume that means he heard you when you took off there, so. Hey, wage slave. Okay, David. Oh. Well, it looks like it's trying to snow a little bit again. The
Hello, wage slave.
I think I'll talk about the X-ray film first, then I'll get on with your trip and everything. Oh, also, I can do the roof leak first. I have a little drip in the middle of the kitchen ceiling there, and wasn't very much. And once the temperature dropped, it stopped dripping and stuff. But got a ladder, went over there today. It looks like it's an ice dam at the edge of the roof where things were melting, and then it was freezing at the edge, because I mean the ice is like 6 inches thick at the edge of the roof, and I don't know.
Hello, John. Thank you. And wage slave, the thumbnail is an old picture of some azurite that I got as a sample when we were helping Lauren someplace where he was working. Because for some bizarre and unaccountable reason, there are almost no photos in the folder that are the right size for a stupid thumbnail. So I'm going to have to either spend some time going through there and making thumbnails, or y'all are just going to have to put up with recycled and cope.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm in a touchy mood. Y'all can cope.
Anyhow, so when I went up there today to take a look at this, ice was about 6 inches thick at the edge of the roof, about 2.5 feet back. The ice was pretty much gone. It was actually liquid water on top of the roof. So I presume what happened was that it was just ponding water underneath the snow. There was enough heat from underneath to actually melt it.
Yeah, David says don't test her, Keith, and he's got a point there.
But anyhow, so I carefully removed some ice to allow drainage. And we'll see what happens with that. The systems I put in, etc., to try and keep the water running properly here seem to be doing okay right now. And I did some more testing on the X-ray film. I don't think the nitric acid is going to work out too well. The consumption's too high, and something seems to be consuming nitric acid besides silver. If it was just silver, I'd have a pile of silver in solution already. I don't think I'm that high. But anyhow, so I'll probably be trying, well, glycine is the next thing I have available here, so I may try some of that next week. For those of you who are not aware, there's a couple of earthquake swarms going on in the Mediterranean.
How's it hanging handsome, says Shiny Rocks.
The
The one and only apparently is still hanging. He didn't freeze it off with his frozen hands from working outside.
A big swarm is north of Santorini volcano, Santorini Island volcano, which is a pretty big one. That's got people kind of concerned, although we don't really know what's going on yet. And another one that I think it concerns me a little more is Campi Flegrei, which is right next to Naples. So you got like 6 million people within the immediate threat distance of if that were to go off. So that's another thing I'm kind of keeping an eye on, but can't tell right now. And so I think the Santorini one's had over 2,000 tremors so far. Campi Flegrei has been several hundred in the last few days. So we shall see what we shall see. But there's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Mr. Virtue says, good evening, Keith and Eva. Patrick says, good day. Slick Willie's Willie says, the earthquakes are just Hillary having a burrito. That's a good possibility. I certainly wouldn't rule it out.
And with respect to Eva's surgery, the surgery went well. The doctor was quite happy. The recovery seems to be going reasonably well. There's a few little hiccups.
Johnny Rock says that volcano in Ethiopia, too, sunk several feet.
Yeah, I think it was like 26 feet in a day or something like that. But I'm kind of Anglo-centric. That's the problem, let's say, surgeon was happy with the results. Didn't see anything unexpected or anything he had a problem with. Eva's recovery seems to be doing pretty well. She's having a few minor issues, but nothing serious. And she's supposed to get in a lot of walking, get some walking. Who's that? Hey, Brian, how's it going?
Just the person we wanted to talk to.
Yeah. The X-ray film, I'm going to be trying that glycine. What formula would you recommend me on the glycine solution to try on that X-ray film? So the hospital over there was generally pretty well organized. People were in good shape and everything. There's only one employee that was a little bit touchy. It wasn't unprofessional. Well, I don't know, would you call that unprofessional? I kind of think so. It wasn't really
Well, I
rude.
felt bad.
Yeah,
because, you usually don't do that.
Yeah, I'd say that it seemed a little annoying, but no huge deal. I'd say the quality of the care was excellent. She went to Billings Clinic in Billings, Montana, and I say in general I would rate the care an A. There was only one little hiccup, and that was not substantive. It was just a minor annoyance. Aside from that, got no complaints. I will say this: the breakfast menu at the cafeteria down there, the scrambled eggs are so-so. Okay, the biscuits are excellent, and the gravy's quite good. So I would go with biscuits and gravy.
Hello, Lars. How are you?
Okay,
And Brian says he'd start with 25 grams to a gallon and see how many you can do till it dies.
Okay.
And what are you using as an oxidizer in there, Brian? And I think we should go with distilled water.
Well, of course, distilled water. How much hydrogen peroxide or whatever we're using for an oxidizer?
Brian says I'm going to test glycine soon. So which oxidizer, if any, would you recommend? And Mr. Virtue, it was female surgery, honey. A double prolapse. That's all you need to know. So there.
wear and tear on female parts from having babies and stuff. Glad to hear you're doing good, Lars. And I also got a couple resin cartridges I need to strip too. So I got all the stuff. I just got to move it around and put it into operation. That does create a bit of fumes, so I need to
Ryan
make
says
sure I have it
50
where I can
grams
vent
of
it.
OxyClean per gallon.
How much? 50?
50 grams of OxyClean. That would be the OxyClean powder from the supermarket. And no, Mr. Virtue, you don't, no apology necessary. It's just that I don't feel anybody needs to know the details of what happens to the great and sacred vajayjay, okay? Even he don't know what happens to the great and sacred vajayjay.
Yeah. Anyhow, I said it was repair and maintenance operations, but fairly routine.
David B. says just showing concern. Yeah.
Of course, and we appreciate.
Oh, we know.
I appreciate the prayers, the well wishes, and everything else.
It will die after a few hours even without using it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Oh no, I'm not offended or anything, guys. It's just that it's not.
Just a little embarrassing.
The prayers and well wishes and stuff are great.
Yeah. I know that you guys care, and that's one reason I went to the trouble of getting that video out the evening we got back.
Ryan says use it while it's fresh. Well, our
Yeah.
thought on this, Ryan, I'm going to have him use like a 5-gallon bucket, mix up 1 gallon of it, and use it immediately. No hesitation.
Well, I'm going to make a very small amount first so I can do
Yeah.
beaker-sized test. What temperature should I run that at, Brian?
Yeah, that's a good question. We may not.
All
know
right. We also got Eco Gold X we could try too.
that. I'm in favor.
Yeah.
My question then is if the Eco Gold X got the silver, I wonder if salt would cause it, whether it would be silver or what the form would be.
Or silver cyanide.
Brian Smith says good idea.
What temperature would you recommend, and what method to get it out of solution? Direct electrowinning, cementation. What are your thoughts on that, Brian? The weather, the day we left, was less than ideal. Okay, so just use it at room temperature, huh?
Good. I'm in favor.
Yeah, I like it.
He'll make it go faster.
Yeah.
Mr.
Go
Virtue
bad
says that's
faster.
what she said. Yeah. That's what he said. Makes it go.
Yeah, he's thinking, huh? But anyhow, on the way over there, it had snowed a couple of days before. Temperatures were low. There were icy patches on the road. There was blowing snow. Someplace the visibility was reduced slightly. I think the lowest I actually went at cruising speed was like 50 miles an hour because I'd never had trouble finding a basic clean path for my tires, but I don't like pushing my luck. So I was, just going at a nice, comfortable speed. On the way back, the road there was always at least one lane that was absolutely clear. A lot of times it was both lanes. And it was, clear skies and stuff. Hello, Shane. So that was pretty easy. The gentleman who gave us the generous use of his house that he's not using at the moment because he's out of town, that worked out very well. And somebody had shoveled out the driveway. I don't know who, but I think whoever it is very much, it made it real simple because there was over a foot of snow on the ground, at least. So that would have been difficult to park without that. And
It was a beautiful house too.
yeah, and so that
Very
was nice.
comfy.
It was in a convenient location to get to the Billings Clinic. It was about a quarter mile away from Grant or Grand, I'm not sure, I think it's Grand, which head straight downtown and got us within about 5 blocks. Once we got to a certain spot, got to finagle around downtown sort of crap. And as usual, Google is much more likely to take you someplace through 27 turns that zigzags kind of directly towards the whatever than take you 1 block out of the way, go down 5, turn left, and it's just a straight shot. Once I figured out what the dealio was, it was pretty simple. And it was paradoxical because where Google turned us the first time to the north was right at the Montana Bureau of Mines and Geology office there. So the day Eva had her surgery, after she was out of surgery, it takes about 2 hours for recovery and moving her into a room and this and that. So I had a couple hours to kill, so I went over to the Bureau of Mines there to see if I could do some research. Short answer, no, they do hydrology in Billings. All the mining stuff's over here at Butte. But the lady there was very nice and helpful, and so.
Well, I do have one question.
Uh-huh.
When you say hydrology, what do you mean?
Surface water flows. You know, rivers, streams, creeks.
Okay, well, in theory, would not that have a bearing on placer?
Yes, but it's the water, not the soils.
Okay.
Okay. I say it's a matter of their job is to keep track of water flows primarily out of that office.
And they wouldn't know anything about ancient rivers.
No, that's geology, not hydrology.
25 below for tonight with a wind chill of 45 to 50 below. Yuck.
I think it's not supposed to be near that bad here. I think it's
Well,
like about
Mr.
7 to
Virtue,
10.
I will say the foo takes you by some very odd routes, but a lot of times when you actually examine it, you can at least figure out about 40% of the time, you can figure out why the foo thought it was a good idea. I mean, after I saw the layout of the downtown with half the streets going one way one direction, half the streets going one way the other direction, and no freaking parking, I could see why the foo chose the route it did.
Yeah, as I say, I understand its way of thinking, but my purpose is to find the simplest route, the ones with a couple of turns and big landmarks, especially so you can see them at night or in bad weather or whatever. So I quickly changed the routes. Luckily, I'm pretty good with orientation, so it wasn't terribly difficult to improve upon the Google food.
And the Walmart it found us in Billings was huge.
Yes, it was.
That is the biggest damn Walmart. I think that thing was probably about 8 acres.
I have no idea. It was big.
It was probably about 8 acres.
It was
The store.
It was gigundous. Yep. And anyhow, I say the doctor says that Eva should be walking for exercise, and so what we've been doing for the last 2 days at least was going shopping. Because I mean, after all, woman walking, shopping, mainly just window shopping. Some we actually had things we had to purchase, like groceries or whatever. But that way she have a nice, pleasant, safe environment to walk in. Right outside the door is neither. It is cold, and there's snow and ice and all kinds of unpleasantness.
And it should be
potential
noted,
danger.
I am not spending any money because we don't have any. We're broke. And I wouldn't spend any money anyway. Okay? It should be noted. I mean, he's saying shopping. He's wrong.
Window shopping.
I'm not even window shopping. I'm usually looking down at the cart or talking to you.
Well, one thing she's doing too is she's monitoring the prices.
Getting silver out of glycine, good question. They start with copper and lower the pH some. The thing, I think glycine loves copper, so an experiment's in order. It could be some great cementation. That is, yeah.
What pH are we supposed to be running with the glycine? Any adjustment of the pH?
Oh, Honey Bunny says, hi, everybody.
Hello, honey bunny. What kind of pH? Do we adjust the pH or just put the glycine and the OxyClean in the water and leave it at that? Yep, exactly.
No, I mean, the other thing I do, as he was pointing out when we're walking around, is I get an impression of how stock levels have changed in stores and how prices are going. Would you believe at our Safeway, a dozen eggs is now over $7.50, $36 a case at our Safeway. Oh, and our Costco doesn't have cases anymore. Yeah, that happened. They also have a limit. That happened too. Glycine is at 10.5.
Thank you, Brian. So, been doing that, and I say just maintaining things around here. The roof leak was a little issue. Keeping the fireplace going.
Wowzer, yeah, exactly, Honey Bunny. I could not believe our Costco now has a limit and no more cases. They only have 24 packages now. Don't use any lime.
So you would use sodium hydroxide?
Wage Slave says, do you think altitude affects precious metal chemistry? Example, water boils at a lower temperature with less pressure.
Not very much. In some cases, like the oxidizing potential could be a little different.
Shane says, news on the front is Elon's going to check out Fort Knox and see if we got any gold left. I'd love to see it.
Yep.
Start thinking about all the damn regulations we got. Maybe we don't have no gold left. Shane, I've been saying for years I don't think there's any gold in there. And they said a few years ago that Rand Paul was supposed to go visit there with Mitch McConnell and the Secretary of the Treasury, who at the time was, I believe, Jay Powell, or Yellen the felon, one of them. But anyway, Rand Paul was supposed to go down there, but they changed the schedule because McConnell wanted to see the eclipse or something, so he missed it. And McConnell and our Secretary Treasury Secretary, both said, oh yeah, there was gold there. I want to see the seals that they broke to get in there. Because when Nixon showed up in 1971 to look at Fort Knox when he took us off the gold standard, the seals had already been on the doors. And as far as I know, nobody has broke those seals ever since. The way they audit it is once a year they send somebody over there who stares at the seals and says, yeah, those seals have not been disturbed, and that's the end of the situation. There's no freaking gold there. And you notice, they still use that figure. They say, well, there's $425 billion in gold. They still use the figure of like $33 an ounce that FDR established when they confiscated gold back in 1933 for their accounting purposes. Now, why the hell would they do that?
If we 70 times that,
if we have gold in there and they stopped valuing it at $33 an ounce and instead valued it at the $2,800 an ounce it is now, well then that gold
80-fold increase
would do a whole lot to pay off the national debt. But they have never changed that figure in the accounting, and nobody can tell me why. I'm telling you, there ain't no damn gold in there. And if there is gold in there, it's adulterated gold. I don't think it's even pure gold. I mean, they may have fucking 14 karat in there, or they may have lead bars, that are coated on the outside with gold. I mean, I'm not saying it's empty, but I'm saying whatever they got in there is probably not real gold. It's not what went in there in the first place. Nobody has seen the insides of that place since before Nixon.
Apparently, Eva is a bit skeptical of the.
The goddess knows there's no goddamn gold in there. We all know this.
Okay, I'm not talking about when cementing the gold, the leach with copper. I'm talking when I'm leaching it itself. Still at that same 10.5 to 11? Hey, adventures. Yeah. I would agree, Honey Bunny. The density is exactly right. You could put a thick plating of gold or cladding or whatever. Okay, got it, Brian.
Well, look at when countries have tried to repatriate their gold that's in the Fed Reserve in New York and they can't get it. They're told, well, we'll have to re-pour your bars. Why?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, come on now. And we also have had countries saying that, anybody know how to precipitate eggs from solution?
Nope.
This is a good question at this point.
Although I guess you can water glass eggs. Let's see. Earthquake X-ray film. Okay, yeah, we'll see what we can do with the glycine, Brian. That it's nice that it's room temperature. I presume if we mix up the chemistry, we can use it for half hour to an hour, and then like the next day we just come back and add more OxyClean to it. Am I correct?
And yeah, much gold has disappeared.
I imagine powdered eggs are
SCP
more
Adventures
expensive
in
now
God
too.
Country says hello.
Hello.
Have we seen you before, SCP? Hello. David, there's not necessarily anything wrong with powdered eggs. You can make your own at home. My main issue with powdered eggs is that powdered eggs do not taste as good as battery eggs, and battery eggs are not nearly as good as real eggs. But getting real eggs in winter is very difficult because most people are letting their ladies brood or rest.
Well, I got a question.
And Brian says recharge with Oxy.
Nutritionally, is there any difference?
Probably very marginal. The problem with a lot of powdered eggs is they have other preservatives in them. Like some of them will have potassium citrate or stuff in there. And
So they're adulterated a little bit, huh?
yeah, they just don't taste the same. They don't reconstitute eggs properly.
Yeah.
But you can, in fact, dehydrate your own eggs at home if you have a gas stove. You use a slow oven, you can dehydrate eggs.
Okay.
Honey Bunny says, Secret Creek prospecting, new channel or just one you did not use before?
They just taste bad, yeah.
Yeah, they do.
If it don't work, add glycine. Okay. We'll give it a shot. Okay, SCP. Grow your own chickens. Yeah.
Well, that's what people are trying to do right now, Mr. Virtue. I mean, I know plenty of people in town with birds. But in the wintertime, ladies do not lay well. In the wintertime, you should be having them brood so they're making more chicks for your freezer and for more eggs. In the summertime, when they are going overboard with egg production. In winter, they are resting and brooding. Or they should be if you've got some good broody ladies.
I got a bunch of powdered eggs and soy flour for high protein keto
SCM
pasta.
says something that looks like fishies. I'm not sure what those are. But
I'm not sure what it is. It's some kind of an emoji-like thing.
Yeah, wait.
But
yeah. Hens, all poultry should brood over winter. And if they don't want to brood, you should at least get fertilized eggs from them and incubate them over winter. Yeah. Carbon can load up to 4%. Shane says, my old hens are still laying. Farm fresh eggs have higher nutrient value. Yes, they do. And the thing is,
Hello, Jean-Francois.
hello, Jean-Francois. Wilderness Medic says, I'm listening on a 2-hour 10 of trying to tune my first shaker table. Are they all as difficult? Holy cow. So talk about tuning shaker tables.
I'm not highly experienced in that, but I would start out with just some heavies. Make sure you got some black sand and try and get a fairly clean zone of black sand there. Then you can throw in either some powdered lead or something else like that, you know, some lead shavings. Tungsten works almost perfectly the same as gold, but I will guarantee you, if you get tungsten contaminating a gold sample, you know, a gold concentrate, you're never going to get them apart without getting some pretty radical stuff. But tungsten, relatively easy to get tungsten powder because apparently they use it to weight golf clubs. Don't ask me why, but they use it for that. And I got like, it was 500 mesh tungsten powder for a reasonable price. It wasn't bad at all.
Well, I do have some insight on the gold, on the matter of weighting golf clubs, by the way.
Another thing you need to know, you need to do adventures in God's country, they have to be anchored solidly. They can't get any vertical bounce to them. That just ruins everything. It's got to be a very solid structure they're attached to, and it's just if that table bounces up and then drops away, it loses that surface contact, which is really important to keep that the action going the way it is, the physics, you know. Should be. So just take a look as it's working. Make sure that the top doesn't seem to be bouncing up or down. The mechanism itself might have a little play in it or whatever. Just make sure it's in that horizontal plane. The Rogue Wave table I built, it uses flex plates, which basically means you. Okay.
Yeah, the table only moves horizontally.
You have a tabletop here. And
He's got 5-inch bolts into his concrete slab, so it should be solid.
Then I got a frame down here. And between these is like 14 gauge sheet metal. Okay? So as the shaft with the eccentric weight works here, it's going back and forth. There's a vertical component to the vector here, the force vector. But then down here, what I have on this frame down here is it's in a water tub. So I got like a 500-pound weight on the bottom. This is braced solidly, so there's no real flex in the framing itself. And these flex plates constrain the movement of that tabletop very, very tightly. It can't rise or drop. It can only operate in this horizontal plane, which is basically the tangent to the radius here. And it worked beautifully, and I've never seen any cracking or anything like that in the flex plates. It's just mild steel. Didn't have to do anything fancy at all. So by doing that, I was able to confine my motion to a plane pretty well. And by having like a 300, I forget how big the tub is. It's about 5 feet long and 3 feet wide and a foot or so deep. That provided sufficient weight that it held my table quite well. And yet, when I'm done and I want to move it, all I got to do is take the plug out, drain the tub, and I can move it real easily. So that helps pretty well. I basically have a subframe here below the tub. It has my leveling jacks on it, so that it works pretty well. I can set it up on any surface, put some blocks under the 3 leveling jacks, and level it up. Huh, interesting. Low temperature solution of silicates by organic acids. Wow. It's probably too expensive for dissolving the rock to get regular gold out of it. If you had specimen gold, that could be very, very happy. Yeah, Mr. Virtue, it's my version of a shaker table. I don't know if I've actually shown a whole lot of it in videos, because I may want to patent it, but it has some of the physics of a wavetable and some of the physics of a other types of shaker tables, but it's a good continuous flow machine. Most wave tables are not really good at continuous flow. I mean, they're pretty slow. Mine, I forget what it was running. I mean, it was running the full capacity of my impact mill, and it, I don't know what the weight was. It wasn't too much, but it's pretty easy to adjust and tweak. Very little difficulty in that part of it, you know. So it seemed to do decent, but then I found out that for gravity separation, I could use, you know, like you see with that sluice box, something a lot simpler. That trip concentrator I built is lighter, cheaper, simpler, and it basically requires virtually no adjustment whatsoever. Hey, Dan. So it seemed to be simpler to use the trip concentrator than the Rogue Wave. However, if you were trying to get something with a lot of heavy concentrates, like say you had a silver mine and you're running.
Honey Bunny, if you could email that to us, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah. The problem with the trip concentrator is it loads up with the gold. It's a batch machine. Once it gets loaded, then you pretty much got to clean it out. Pretty easy to do, but nevertheless, you stop and clean it out. The Rogue Wave is better as a continuous flow when you've got a lot of heavy concentrates you're making. Like say you were you had an ore with hundreds of ounces of silver per ton in a galena. Yeah, now you're trying to recover, 2% of your input. Batch process on a small scale, not that good, but the Rogue Wave would do a good job there. So they do different things well, but both of them are relatively simple. One's just simpler and cheaper than the other. And so right now my Rogue Wave is sitting up on top of a storage container at Lauren's house. It's literally up on the roof there, which should work fine for now. I'm sure certain of the things like the leveling jacks, yeah, they're going to be rusted solid, and I'll probably have to cut the nuts off and replace those, but that's relatively simple. Or actually, I wouldn't even need to cut the nuts off, just put new nuts on. What the hell? Go stainless this time. But if I have a situation where I need it, I'll take it out, and it would replace basically a shaker table. So that's, I say, everything tends to have its little niche that it works well in. The trip concentrator, very simple, very good for recovering gold when you have a high value product like gold. Would work well on platinum group or something like that. It's fine because by the time you're ready to clean it out, you probably got half an ounce to an ounce in there. And gosh, if you got to stop every hour to take an ounce of gold out of your thing, and it only takes you about 5 minutes to clean it up, that wouldn't be a problem. Well, in this case, Jean-Francois, it's been sitting around so long that I have no idea how badly frozen it is. But and say if we have a purpose for it, we can take it down and refurbish it and get it working again. So I say, if nothing else, we could always just kind of blueprint it and redo it. Everything in it is fairly simple stuff. So it's something that you don't need to be a skilled fabricator. You just need to be a backyard fabricator to whip one out. But it worked. It's kind of fun to watch too, because you get you can see your heavies doing their thing. Kind of cool. Thank you, honey bunny. So, I say that's, I think, shaker tables, got to have them anchored well. They're a little tweaky, but if your ore works well for it, they can do a pretty darn good job. But I would say that
once an hour sounds remarkable for something.
Yeah, for the trip concentrator.
Oh yeah. The trip concentrator is absolutely amazing. He really needs to start building them or selling the plans.
I suppose I could do that too.
Selling the plans would be a good idea.
Yeah, I probably ought to do that. Yep. So, I say the trip concentrator worked fine if you got gold in a reasonable gang. You're not doing super heavies and stuff like that. It does a nice job. It really does. It would probably work fine for top of the hill. The negative would be that it's more complicated than the sluice. And since we're using the sluice just to scalp the larger material, why put a uh, mechanism if you got something that has no moving parts. Excellent, honey bunny. Um, so that's the dealio. Again, my main focus for this summer is to try and find a decent ore body to focus on. There's potentials up at top of the hill. We're going to work on research on that during this winter. When Eva's feeling better, we'll probably head over to Butte in a month or so and get more serious on that. Looking at the data on Montana M, I'd like to take another look up there. Trip's worth the scenery anyhow. It's fairly easy to get to. Not that big a deal. But, yeah. I mean, that was running like 3 ounces to the ton or something. Not a whole lot of tons, but nevertheless, $100 a ton. They supposedly mined roughly 100 tons, $10,000 total recovered at $100 a ton at either $35 or $20 an ounce. Not sure. 3 to 5 ounces per ton. You know.
Some guy offered to come help me make turbo machinery, but I lost the link information because I was having webmail server problems.
I love that part. I hate electrons. Something else there, Jean-Francois. And so that's probably worth another look there. And say we got stuff from Jeff Kablock and Eric. We stayed at his house. He's got supposedly some pretty good silver ore. So I have lots of things to look at this summer. And then we're still wondering what's going to happen, what with all the political upheaval as to what the regulations and rules are going to look like in the not too distant future. I mean, it's hard to tell because if they're getting rid of a lot of personnel, it could be hard to get anything done through the BLM and Forest Service because there may be nobody to do it. On the other hand, they may be much more likely to just kind of rubber stamp stuff a bit. I have no clue. We shall see what we shall see. It's quite unpredictable at the moment. Could you take over for just a minute, little one?
Yeah, give me a second.
Okay.
I'm finally talking to people that are beginning to understand the importance of getting shit happening.
Uh-huh.
And as soon as I'm better, by the way, we're going to start working politically in this town. Because I'm sick of waiting for our GOP to do anything. They're all stupid.
Yep.
Very, very annoying people. Hi, everybody. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be moving around much because the intestinal situation is not optimal today. Just saying. And I really have to eat something at some point. But anyway, so in my wanderings from store to store, Dexopen, get back to that, Shane, when he's back. In my wanderings from store to store, as I said, our Costco was completely sans eggs for an entire week. No eggs. Then all of a sudden, we had eggs again, but they came with a limit and a higher price in a different size package. And Jean-Francois, of course there's no real gold in there. And, well, yeah, technically, the thing to know about Fort Knox, Jean-Francois, is quite simple. On the Treasury's books, the gold, supposedly in Fort Knox, is still listed at the value of $36 an ounce. not 2,800 and change an ounce. Think about it. Why is the federal government keeping that value at that historic level dating back to FDR rather than at the actual value on the books today? That really makes no sense when you think about it. Because if they valued it the way it was valued today, well, they're claiming there's 425 million or some odd, dollars in there. And they're only declaring 1/80th of the value at today's prices. So if it was actually in there, that would be a pretty big chunk of change. It should also be noted, we supposedly have gold in there. Yet whenever our illegal and extortionate mint starts minting things like Morgan silver dollars and peace silver dollars and modern commemorative silver dollars, they're minted from planchettes that are created by Sunshine Minting. Now, I don't know who makes their gold planchettes, but somebody makes their gold planchettes. And for some bizarre, unaccountable reason, the strategic reserves of metal that our government claims are in Fort Knox are valued at 1930s values. Yet, the metals that they're buying as blank planchettes to strike, to sell to people at highly extortionate prices, are being purchased from modern mints in their modern gold, okay? But it gets even funnier, because our mint is not supposed to be making a profit on anything, okay? According to the law, these yo-yos are not supposed to be making a profit. Also, according to the law, they are supposed to have available at all times more than enough silver and gold coinage, not at a profit, to sell to anybody that wants it in the United States. And somehow that is never the case, and somehow, if you go to the Mint website, you will see that they currently are selling Morgan silver dollars for like $80. They're selling American silver eagles with a $1 face value for, almost twice per ounce cost, So there is that too. Yeah. Shane, I'm really hoping that Drill Baby Drill also covers Mine Baby Mine, but I'm telling you right now, we all need to be pushing for sane public lands policy. Get on your senators and House about that. We need to be pushing for refine baby refine and smelt baby smelt. Because it doesn't matter how much shit we pull out of the ground. If we have to ship it to our enemies in China, etc., who knows what we're going to get back? Several times this year, the American people never found out about this. Several times in the past couple of years, we have gotten titanium and aluminum and iron and steel and other things from a certain panda-loving country that have had to be scrapped or even returned and repurchased because they did not meet the stated manufacturing parameters. We need our infrastructure back, okay? And Mr. Virtue, I do note that Mr. Besant, our brand new Treasury Secretary, who apparently is not allowed to do anything at the Treasury for some bizarre and unaccountable reason, has said that he does want to bring back a gold-based currency. The goddess is, of course, pushing for a bimetallic sound money system. In fact, the goddess is going to start talking to those yo-yos down the road at the State House here about that when they're done doing other reasonable things. I mean, just saying. And this is the thing. We currently have a mint that is operating illegally, unconstitutionally, and extortionately, which is not unusual. We currently have Fort Knox, which purports to be a repository for our precious metals and probably has nothing useful in it. I'm betting anything that's in there is probably fake or adulterated or 14 karat at best. Okay, I don't think there's any gold in there, but they're going to have to put something in there. Just in case somebody opens it, they're going to have something to shove in there for a picture that they can point to and say, see.
I don't know, because while it would cause problems, there's no better time for the administration to reveal something like that than this one right now.
Oh, absolutely.
They're already looking at so many other things.
Well, the funny thing about it is this. What I want to know, if the gold is not in there, what we know at this point is Nixon was unable to see it in 1971. As far as we know, no one has seen it since 1946. Okay?
Yeah.
That is the last reported sighting. So the question here becomes, where did it go in 1946 and who did it? That's what we got to know. That is the part that we want to find out. Who did it in 1946?
Well,
I think Harry Truman was a Republican.
There's a lot of questions out there, and
well, Shane, our money is a debt instrument. It's not even money, it's currency, okay? It is currency. And we know that it's not actually legal tender because the last time I tried to give some to the IRS for a public debt, meaning taxes, they threatened to arrest me and they refused to take it. Even though it says right on it that it is for all debts, public and private, and your income taxes are a public debt.
They didn't threaten to arrest you because you were trying to hand them money. They threatened to arrest you because you were uncooperative.
No, they threatened to arrest me because I pointed out when they said go get a money order or a check that according to the law, that note is legal tender for all debts, public and private, and they are required to accept it. This is not being difficult. Jean-Francois, yes, it does, to some extent. And this is the thing. That what people have forgotten, because we have been deliberately miseducated for over 100 years, is that that instability in the bimetallic standard is necessary for a sound money system. You want a sound money system to have that, because that gives you a way to inflict immediate consequences for stupid bullshit. Okay? Oh, Shane, if you get your mining district going again and reopened, walk everybody through the process. Billy says, cementing gold using copper, Brian. Other oxidants you can use with the glycine, like 4-nitro-aniline, whatever that is. But you see, this is the thing. Right now, we have a whole lot of shit that needs to get done. And the problem that I was just discussing with people on X before I got co-opted to sit in this seat is the fact that across the country, for some bizarre and unaccountable reason, the GOP has gone on vacation. The GOP went on vacation, and the RNC went on vacation, except for fundraising phone calls, right after Election Day. While the psychotic left has hit the ground running and is now campaigning their asses off in all 50 states. We need to dominate midterms at the local level, at the state level, and at the federal level. Somehow, this has escaped the attention of our dearly beloved GOP. So it's going to redound upon we, the people, to MAGA and MAHA our fucking asses off, with or without their consent, their cooperation, or anything else at this point, because we need to get moving. And that's what I'm trying to coordinate with folks. Currently, I am stuck sitting on my butt. But in relatively short order here, I will not be stuck sitting on my butt, and I can get to work getting people moving. We have local and state laws that need to be put in place. We have local and state elected seats that are coming up for grabs that need to be taken from leftists. We have federal shit that needs to happen, and we must gain ground in 2025 and 2026, or we are screwed. So y'all got to get that through your heads too, okay? Anyway, gold and silver are still on sale. Unfortunately, at the moment, we're cash poor. Otherwise, I would be buying gold and silver. But gold and silver are still on sale. So back up the dang truck and pick up your gold and silver. Eggs are becoming a difficult thing in many parts of the country. So it would behoove you to increase your regular inventory of eggs within your household. Also, a reminder for those who have missed the news, yes, it has now been confirmed that across the country is being infected with mRNA vaccines, and we have no idea what parts of the pork herd, what parts of the piggery industry are affected by this. We know that the people running the pig farms are not required to tell anybody what kind of vaccines their pigs are getting, and there's no required labeling. While cooking thoroughly may well kill the vaccines, we don't know. We don't know how these vaccines are impacting and affecting the meat and the nutritional value of the meat. Just because cooking kills the mRNA crap does not mean that this meat would necessarily be healthy. So it behooves us to do one thing. Our state has actually come out, and they're working on a law right now to ban mRNA vaccines in the state for human beings. I am going to be talking to our representatives to point out that that law needs to be extended and ban the use of mRNA vaccines in all livestock in the state, period, yeah. And require that anything that comes into this state that has been exposed to an mRNA vaccine, like pork, has to be labeled that it has been vaccinated with this shit. Because we deserve food transparency. That's part of MAHA. We need food transparency. And it's our job to start fighting for this shit now. Because at the moment, the psychotic left are off balance. They're freaking out, they're scared, and they're starting to make mistakes. We need to keep them in that state and push hard. Because otherwise, all this progress is going to stop. We are trying to roll back decades of subversion as fast as possible. We can't do it without dominating in this year and in 2026. And that's all there is to it. So just remember, when it comes to gold, silver, eggs, and good food, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Bye-bye.
And I know some people would prefer to avoid non-mining topics, but unfortunately things are so chaotic right now that we kind of have to. Because there's so much stuff that's involved. As Eva said, in Montana, we've got a bill that they're working on to stop mRNA vaccines for humans. I would like to say stop it for everything at the moment. Until you can prove it's safe, it's presumed to be unsafe. And they also did a bill in Montana, I think it's now sitting on the governor's desk, that basically says in any public space where you are in expected to get in a condition of undress, they have to be sex segregated, and sex is defined by chromosomes, not by your attitude at the time.
if we take our minivan and cut the back off and put a bed on and everything, it's not a pickup truck. It's a converted minivan. You know? So just because it tries to identify as a pickup truck doesn't mean it's a pickup truck. But they're working here on stuff. I'm pleased to see activity going on, and I was very pleased to see Vance's speech to the Europeans. It was very polite, very controlled, and very in your face. that was pretty good. And then today, I guess in the last couple of days, 60 Minutes did an episode or segment, whatever they call them, in Germany, where they were interviewing the people that were arresting people in Germany for insulting people online. Yes, it's a crime in Germany to insult someone online, especially if they're a politician. Now, my brother asked me an excellent question. Did any Germans insult J.D. Vance after he gave his speech? And if so, are they being arrested? Yeah, very weird world we're living in now. We shall see what, it's very, very early. The chessboard is still getting set up. We also have to consider what happens if, AOC gets arrested and charged for helping illegal immigrants. Same thing with the governor of New York. Not only just the direct effects, but how's the left going to take that? They've been working for years to say Trump's a fascist, Trump's going to do a dictatorship. They're going to play that as a dictatorship. And could get pretty dynamic. So, yeah, it's far from settled down at this point. I'm encouraged at all the action that's been going on. I agree with Eva. It would be nice if the Republicans were as energetic as the Democrats, but there's a difference. Most Republicans don't really believe in MAGA. It's like some of them do. Some of them are great. A lot of them don't. So they're not going to enthusiastically support something they don't really support, especially as it is potentially dangerous to them. Look at all the stuff they're finding out so quick. This is what I say. It could get really bizarre because you got the Golden Fort Knox. The lady, what was it, Paulina Luna?
Yeah.
That's doing the declassification of the JFK and stuff, said, yeah, it looks like there was 2 shooters. Well, if there were 2 shooters, and the evidence clearly shows there were 2 shooters for JFK, that means there was a deliberate cover-up of that by the government. Therefore, the government was to some extent complicit.
Of course they were.
What does that do to the societal fabric? I don't know. I know my daughters, who tend to lean a little bit left, are being very rational right now. And they're saying, hey, he got elected. Let's see what happens. Don't go crazy worrying about stuff that doesn't matter. I went and talked to one of them about the bathroom bill here in Montana to say, what do you think of the details of this? And he's like, yep, sounds reasonable to me. So, Honey Bunny says there were 3 shooters. Could be.
Did
she say
John F. Kennedy?
Yeah, that's what she said.
Yeah. 3 shooters makes the most sense.
Could be. I don't know if she said at least 2 or 2. I think she
I
said at
believe,
least 2.
I believe she said at least 2, and yeah, there were 3 because the guy that actually did the shooting completely disappeared, and I'm betting that he disappeared in a 6-foot underway.
Yeah.
But well, we could also count Jack Ruby in that because he was a deliberate shooter. I mean, you had the guy that actually shot Kennedy, you had Lee Harvey Oswald, and you had Jack Ruby, who was nice enough to shoot Lee Harvey Oswald.
Well, Lee Harvey Oswald might have actually hit Kennedy.
Yeah.
It's just he's not the one who killed him. It doesn't look like, you know. So, I say this is a really extraordinary time, and that leads to extraordinary situations. Again, make sure your personal situation is as stable as possible. Make sure you're as resilient as possible. Depending upon your personal situation, you may need to consider things like, what if I have to bug out? Okay. You know, don't take serious risks for your life
And
or
how
that of
you
your
said
family.
Lee Harvey was actually not one of the shooters. Yeah, would not surprise me.
Don't die for stuff. Okay? So be ready to just dump the unnecessary stuff and bug out if you need to. Whatever. But I mean, get the proper survival mindset of adaptability. Look at the situation, evaluate the situation, deal with the situation. Sometimes the best way is just get the hell out of Dodge. Okay? So, say, be aware. Things are not only possible, but likely to change dramatically in a very short period of time in the near future. Okay? Don't know exactly in which way or whatever, but I think the probability is above 50% now.
Anybody, just send it to our email.
Yeah. I say, so it's quite extraordinary. What is your thoughts on the price of the precious metals if things get really bizarre?
Well, it is my thought. I have been looking at what's going on this week, and let me just double check a couple of numbers real quick, because like I said, I am trying to get people motivated to fight this war, okay? But unfortunately, a lot of people have a problem with that idea. I mean, the psychotic left is only going to stay off balance for so long.
Yeah.
We're currently at 2,895.70 for gold.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for silver to load for me. $32.17 for silver. Now, mind you, these numbers are all down a little bit. The market will close in 19 hours. Platinum's at 974, palladium's at 964, and rhodium is holding steady at 4,525. Zero movement.
Yeah.
And it only ever goes up or down by $100 at a time. So that is as manipulated as you can get. Totally fake. It is my personal thought that at this point, due to fuel costs, inflation, and other weird shit happening,
Yeah.
the actual practical floor for gold
Mm-hmm.
is 2,800
In U.S. dollars.
in U.S. dollars. The practical floor for silver at this point is $30.50.
Okay.
50 cents adjusted upward since 2 weeks ago. It is my belief that any number we see below those two practical floors is going to be strictly manipulation purposes
Hey, smoking.
for somebody. Because the paper contracts world has just been ridiculous, and futures are looking even more ridiculous. People are not even pretending that they're taking physical delivery anymore. They're trading the paper back and forth and getting cashed out in equally worthless debt instruments.
Well,
There's no actual physical stuff.
okay, well, assuming that the situation continues to be kind of chaotic and stuff.
I believe that metals, the practical floor for gold is going to be 38.
I'm saying, what's the
Will you hold on?
Practical floor is 38.
The practical floor is 28,
Right.
okay? And I'm expecting it to range through midsummer. I'm expecting it to range between 28.50 and about 33
Mm-hmm.
through summer.
Yeah.
If there is some severe disruption, it may get up to 35 and establish a new floor.
Uh-huh.
The practical floor for silver is $30.50. I'm expecting it to range from now to midsummer between about 31 and 34. If it hits 35 and stays there,
Agreed, Shane.
then something really big is going on.
According to Jean-Francois, a year and a half ago, gold was 2,700 Canadian.
Yep.
Now it's 4,000 Canadian. Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
because of the change in value of the Canadian dollar?
Yeah, some of it's Canadian dollar and some of it is their market looks more at futures than it does at present, so to speak.
Okay.
The futures market for gold is pointing at a midsummer of 3,300 becoming new practical floor,
Mm-hmm.
and an end of year 3,400 becoming practical floor. That is what the futures market is pointing at for gold. For silver, midsummer is looking like 32.50 being a practical floor, $32.50, and end of year 33 to 34 being a practical floor.
Okay. Well,
That is if you go by the futures. Hello, A. Sharm, who I don't recognize, but yeah.
Yep.
I mean, if you go by the futures market, we are definitely in a strong bullish trend.
okay.
And the fact that we now have a Treasury Secretary that is talking about bringing back, at the very least, fractional currency.
Mm-hmm. Well, what is your thought of the possibility? I mean, obviously these are chaotic times. Is there much of a possibility, in your opinion, of a huge rise in stuff like
I do
Also, they
not
can't
see
cover
it
paper.
becoming. I do not see it becoming a permanent state. It will only become a permanent state if it happens. There may be temporary disruptions here or there, but the only way there would be a fundamental disruption that would push actual price discovery is if we get a confluence of black swans,
okay,
including people finally waking up and realizing that fiat currency is not money. It is currency, but it is not money, and that it is not real. People still have an extraordinarily inordinate faith in all of their fiat currencies. We're seeing this with the Bolivar down there in South America. People are literally making arts and crafts projects to sell in markets out of Bolivars, and it still has not dawned on them that this is not money.
that would be Venezuelan bolivars, I'm sure.
And the thing is, the same thing happens in Zimbabwe right now. They're still printing $10 trillion notes, and I think they now have a $100 trillion one that is only printed on one side. There are still people using this fiat currency as an accounting tool, as a poker chip. And we're seeing the same thing that we saw after the Vietnam War when the boat people were escaping. There are still people that are collecting suitcases of this shit and hoarding it because they are convinced that when their country goes back to normal, they will be billionaires. It has not dawned on them yet, despite all the evidence of their eyes and years of seeing that their money is worth nothing. It has not dawned on them that their currency is not even money, and yes, it is indeed worth nothing.
Well, how
The
much?
American people are sitting here and finally coming to the realization that we're $36 trillion in debt, and that our debt equals more than our gross domestic product. Okay? I mean, that's as bad as it gets. That is beyond unsustainable. We are literally, completely, totally bankrupt. Period. Okay? If this was real money, We are bankrupt. People go through chapter 11 that are not as bankrupt as we are. Okay?
What do you think?
And there are still Americans who do not understand this. Many.
What do you think the chances are of a huge supply chain disruption of near catastrophic proportions?
We already have that going on.
Okay, people are not dying by the millions.
Oh, no, that's not.
When I say catastrophic proportions, I mean catastrophic.
Well, that's going to actually take
Not
a
major
world.
annoyance.
That's going to take a world war, and that's the world
Okay.
war is not.
So
gotten,
relatively
the
low
world war
probability
has
that-
not gotten widespread in Connecticut enough yet. Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, honey, buddy, we're not bankrupt only because we have no debt. But the
Yeah.
thing is, I mean, we're sitting here trading other people's debt. Every time we get a $20 debt instrument, that is a piece of somebody else's debt. And the thing is, yeah, we already have broken supply chains that are getting more broken. And we now have our government planning to start some new harebrained scheme to deal with the so-called avian flu.
You would bring
Okay.
that up, Brian.
And right now we do lose about 1 million U.S. citizens a year. As Honey Bunny points out, we lose a lot of people per year. And despite certain people around here who, for some bizarre and unaccountable reason, believe that if all of a sudden we did manage to deport 30 million people, we would not be able to do the work in this country. That's bullshit. We could. Okay?
Well, you'd have to get rid of welfare or turn it into workfare or something.
Well, that's exactly what would happen. And CBRs, well, yeah, to some extent. I mean, Starbucks should go back to plastic straws. Plastic are actually better for the environment than friggin' paper.
I've seen goldbacks recently.
Yes, there are gold backs. As a matter of fact, the number of states with them has expanded. I am already planning to talk to our legislature because the guy that runs our coin shop, the guy that owns it, wants gold backs for Montana. But I think we've now got 5 or 6 states that are making them, which is cool.
Yeah. No,
And yeah, honey bunny, we lose a lot to food poisoning and fentanyl. But the thing is, we currently have we currently have Americans finally waking up to the fact that we're $36 trillion in debt.
what is that per person?
It's like 140, according to the debt clock, it's like $140,000 per person.
Per
or
person?
something.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous amount of money, okay? It still is not dawning on them that our money is a debt instrument. It's not actual money, it's currency, and it's a debt instrument. These people are so financially illiterate, and that was done deliberately, that they do not realize that we have no money. It's not dawning on them. When it finally dawns on them, these are the kind of people who are going to be like the Confederates during the Civil War. That after the Civil War, when the carpetbaggers came in and jacked up the taxes in the South and said, you need to pay with gold, they said, well, all I have is my Confederate bonds. I mean, we have a lot of American citizens that are still going to be using the U.S. dollar because they actually have that much faith in it.
Well,
It's bizarre and unaccountable.
how much of that is essentially ignorance? What percentage of the population do you think
By the
are...
way, your teeth really need to be cleaned.
Okay.
Just saying.
How many people do you think are essentially psychotic?
Well, it is part of the mass psychosis event, but in this particular thing, a lot of it is the 100+ years of deliberate miseducation.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't call them psychotic.
Well, I mean, some are psychotic.
Oh yeah, they're psychotic for other reasons, but this
Okay.
is not part of their particular psychosis.
Okay.
I believe most of these people, if you actually could educate them from ground zero and explain to them the difference between money and currency, etc., and explain to them what a note means financially, they would probably grasp the idea.
Okay.
The question then becomes, do they have the sense to turn to gold and silver, or are they going to start putting the fiat into Bitcoin?
The thing that
I mean,
I don't like about Bitcoin is you have to have a functional computer system, not just you personally, but the whole network. You know, the internet basically has to be functional in order for it to have any
and what
value
I don't like
whatsoever.
about Bitcoin is they always tell you, well, you know, it can never be hacked. But then you look at all these, quote, mining companies, etc., that, oh, we were hacked and all the coins from our hot wallet completely disappeared, among other things. They say, oh, well, Bitcoin is just like cash. It can never be dragged back or stolen from anywhere. Well, look at Sam Bankman-Fried, who, after he got arrested, all of his Bitcoin had disappeared and was taken by the government. Or the Silk Road dude. The government took all his Bitcoin, okay? And no, it does not make sense. I don't want anything that is reliant on energy in the sense of having to have a hard wallet in the house with my private key and my public key and be able to plug into a laptop somewhere so that I can transfer the Satoshi from my hard wallet to his hard wallet or your hard wallet or somewhere else. I mean, that is why I would not put any faith in it.
Well, isn't it also, it would seem to me that if you were going to exchange Bitcoin, it's essentially trackable to some extent. I mean, they may not be able to.
Yeah. They keep claiming it isn't. Well, by golly, the entire ledger is public. So yes, you can sit right there and you can see the original wallet that the cryptocurrency came out of, whether it's Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, all the nodes it went through to get to that other wallet.
Don't they make those break apart things? What did you call those?
Yeah.
They still make those.
Valcombi makes combi bars. Those are silver and gold, though. And
That's what
yeah.
Jean-Francois was. He said, I don't think
Valcambi
they make them.
makes Valcambi makes combi bars, as they call them, and they make them in silver, they make them in gold, and they make them in several different denominations. I have seen them that are 10-gram chunks of gold on a 1-ounce card. I have seen them that, you know, they come in different denominations. They're pretty darn cool. But the premium is horrific. Just like as Brian points out there, the premium on a gold back right now is horrific.
Yeah, that's my problem, Honey Bunny, is I don't trust anything that can literally just evaporate into thin air.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Fiat can too, because most of it is electronic these days. We have quite a few projects in the works that we're working on with people, Charm.
None of them, I would call them production.
None of them are what you could call production level mines, and none of them have stock, so to speak. They're not publicly owned. They're private things that happen. Resort Dog, I knew somebody that had like 100 Bitcoin, literally 100 full Bitcoin on a hard wallet and lost the privacy key. Lost the private key. Knows the public key, doesn't know the private key.
See, they're now what, 60,000 each?
Oh, I think they're more than that, but I don't really, I don't pay attention half the time.
That'd be like $6 million. That would really tick me off to know
Yeah,
that.
Resort Dog moved to where the food lives. So did we, Resort Dog. It should be noted, Anybody sane that wants to move to Montana, the cattle outnumber the human beings more than 2 to 1. Great state to live in, and that doesn't even count our sheep or our game.
Yeah. But anyhow, so.
Well,
with
anyway, I'm
respect to-
going to get back to what I was doing.
Okay.
So.
With respect to what we're doing, Sharm, we've got a number of possibilities we're working on, but that we don't have anything that's in production at this time. We have some possibilities, but nothing's proven out at this point. I'm glad we've been helpful, Sharm. That's what we like to do.
Yeah, and I mean, if you've got any other questions, please ask mining questions. We're more than happy to discuss mining.
As you can tell, Eva is doing okay. Her energy level is significant. And she's also moving reasonably well. Is she perfect? No. Is she strong at this point? Heck no. She's in a delicate condition.
Oh, you need to fix the fireplace.
Okay. Are you gonna cover while I do that?
Yep.
Okay.
I will come and sit back in the hot seat for the moment because he's gotta fix the fireplace. Resort dog, I have no idea where big noogies are. Personally, I want silver. We all know this. Y'all can keep that yellow shit. I want silver and I want crystals. Some nice geological specimens would be good. But anyway, so what we're planning to do here is, first off, sometime after all this snow stops, relatively soon, I want to head back to Butte for a day so that I can dig into some other stuff. And second of all, going forward next week, I want to dig through all the files that he has in his computer and do some more digging on the state websites from here. And do some more digging on the various map sites like My Land Matters and Montana Cadastral, etc., so that we can start working on that. Yeah, Jeff, I remember when delicate condition had a special meaning. I wish I were still able to get in that kind of a delicate condition. Sadly, no. Drat. Yeah. Resort dog, gold does have a lot more room for that kind of thing. But that is my plan this coming week, is to take a look at some of the historical data that I have been cross-dressing and cross-referencing, and take a look at what's going on with some of that. See if there's a few things to narrow down on and zero in on. So when we head back to Butte, I can say, hey, hello, this is kind of what I'm looking for. I would love to get the opportunity, hopefully this spring, to pick up some more good geologic specimens for my collection. It would also be nice to get a couple of other good properties that we could look into. I mean, I personally am hoping at some point, maybe this year, we will be able to find a claim that we can stake in our name. Because I'd like to have a claim that we could go to maybe one day a week, where we could, hitch up a little trailer, go out there, spend one day working on our claim, and, cut some wood for the fireplace, and come home with some stuff that we can work on at home. That would be nice. And Resort Dog, I would absolutely love to see some opals here in the U.S. I mean, I would love to go opal hunting myself, just saying. But anyway, I will let him come back. Bye-bye. No, I'd love to go opal hunting.
Sure.
Resort Dog is talking about opals here. I want to come see.
Let's say, so that's basically kind of the situation now. As you can see, Eva's moving fairly well. She got a good amount of energy. She's still got to get a little back to where she's going, and then get stronger, but she's doing pretty well. I'm I'm pretty pleased with her progress, and we're working diligently to help things out. I'm not sure exactly what I wanted. First, I got to find something, Sharm. I say, we would love to have a spot that was rich enough and simple enough that we could do, basically, people could spend a week or 2 weeks to come out, mine their own ore, process their own ore, get their own gold and silver or whatever.
You should issue CVRs to your viewers to finance the mining project. I would not want to do anything like that, Sharm, because doing something like that would make me feel an obligation to have a project work out. I would only do that if I 100% had a project that was already working out, in which case I wouldn't need financing. That's the thing. Because unlike some people, we do not want to potentially make money off of somebody else's misfortune. And yes, Brian, if I had my way, my final goal here is a nice little polymetallic ore body that's got hard rock and also has a placer claim, so that we can have a gold and silver camp. So you come out here, you spend a week on site at this patented mine, where you get to do some placer mining and find yourself gold and silver that way, and maybe some, like garnets or something. And you also do the hard rock mining, you do the refining, you do the tank leaching, you do all that stuff, and at the end of the week, everybody in the little group goes home with like their little ounce of silver, their little ounce of gold, etc., and they know a lot more about mining. That's my goal. That is my dream, is to have that type of a circumstance.
And we get to call it Hard Rock University. The looks he gave me. But yeah, we would really enjoy that, and it'd be very helpful to people, and it should be able to make a decent living at it. So we shall have to see what we shall see. Do a cruise. I don't think you can do a mining cruise too well. Yeah, that would be cool, I would think, honey bunny. Exactly. Because, you come there to learn. That would be way cool. But yeah, we have lots of interesting things going to go on this summer in terms of what the heck is going to happen. I don't freaking know. But it promises to be interesting. And then next fall, once the snow shows up and everything, theoretically I'm going to get a new right knee put in. Yeah. That too, Mr. Virtue. There's no reason you can't do both if you just got the right location. The key is getting the right location. If you got good enough ore, you can do a lot of things. Oh, you can have different headings in an underground location. There's all kinds of ways you can play that game, just depending on the situation.
The thing is, I don't even necessarily want to make big money that way, Mr. Virtue. My main purpose for this would be so that I could enjoy the company of people that want to learn something, and people can get some cool things to take home and some great memories and stuff.
And we make
it doesn't have to.
That's all.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't have to make huge money. It has to pay for itself.
Yeah. Well, if everything was ideal, we wouldn't have that hard of rock. We can just use, hammers, the demolition hammers. You can also take like an excavator, and put a hydraulic hammer on it, You can get some pretty small stuff that'll work. Yep. So, let's say we shall see what we shall see. But that's where we're at the moment. And, say, like usual, our life is indeterminate. We will collapse the wave function as we get there. And, well, the other thing is, Mr. Virtue, we learn a lot when you're trying to teach people. You learn a lot in the process too. Yep. So let's say we shall see what we shall see. But yeah, we're having that would be a good T-shirt, but nobody would get it. You know,
What?
having fun collapsing the wave function.
So what? If nobody gets it, we get it. That's the point.
Yeah, right, honey bunny. But that's the basic plan. 45 in the crawl space. Any idea what it is outside, little one?
Good grief, dude.
No, it's
6 degrees.
6? Okay. Get down to about 0 tonight, probably. Alrighty. Any questions, subjects, or anything like that at this point? Well, okay. Right now we have around a foot of snow, Dan. It snowed a little bit this week. Last night we got about 4 inches. It's supposed to be snowing on and off the next couple of days. Then it's supposed to warm up to almost 40 degrees. So that could get rid of a lot of that snow. What did I think of the Daytona 400? Didn't watch the race, but I think Trump is really good at his, he's a good promotion for it. But I was feeling so sorry for the driver in the Beast to be out there on the Daytona 500 track and not be able to just put his foot in it. Oh my goodness, the temptation would have been terrible, you know? And say that poor guy, he's got to be sitting there going, oh, I want to go, I want to go. So that was my thought on that. I say it was he's pretty good at playing a crowd and like that. But that poor driver, it had to be so frustrating. I just know he wanted to mash that accelerator down. Hi, Chris. How's it going? Mr. Virtue, that applies to quantum physics, where, like with Schrodinger's cat, it's
The wave, W-A-V-E function, not wave.
Yeah, W-A-V-E function. The quantum wave function. Quantum theory says that many things aren't determined until it's observed. Now, they still haven't figured out how you know what an observer is and stuff, but that's basically what it is. Think Schrodinger's cat. It's supposedly neither dead nor alive until someone opens the box. I don't think they have restrictor plates on the Beast. But yeah, that would have been very, very frustrating for that guy, I would think. It's like, come on, man. Yeah, it's a quantum theory thing. That's the collapsing the wave function means observing the situation and therefore taking the possibilities and turn them into a single actuality. You're welcome. That's why I was saying most people wouldn't be able. Well, I don't know. Probably 10% of people would be able to figure out what I was talking about. But yeah, and I say we're just having fun exploring the future one day at a time and collapsing the wave function in the way. But Eva's doing pretty well. That I'm very happy about, and say we're having a good life. So we'll go with that. Anything else before we call it a night and let Eva get back on the couch? Not too bad for me, Jeff, because I get out and get to do things a little bit. Not bad. At this point, if it gets rather serious, I can probably go to Lauren's. I got one little project I need to get welded up over there, stuff like that. Right now, even with Eva, we're going out to the stores like every day and like that. CF level 99.999. Not sure exactly what that means, wage slave.
Dirac replaced the three classical mechanic equations with three value the uncertainty. Yeah.
Yeah, I say the thing is, even though quantum physics seems pretty bizarre, it does seem to work pretty well. So, although say I do agree that a lot of scientists have vastly more confidence in our knowledge than I think the knowledge base justifies. Any theory of not astrophysics, but cosmology that doesn't really know where 85% of the universe is, but just kind of infers its existence, I think has a few little gaps to fill in before you feel comfortable about knowing what reality is. So, I say, that gets me. The science is settled. A, science is never settled. And B, in many cases, it ain't even close to settled. Oh. Well, quantum physics has a number of predictions that check out to many decimal places. At least that's what everyone who studies it says. I don't have the knowledge base to argue, but when you have a bunch of people who spend a lot of time and that agree, it's probably reasonable. No, I have not, Jeff. It sounds pretty non-toxic, though. I know somewhere, I think it was in Analog, somebody wrote an article that I read that compared Genesis to the first chapter of Genesis to the Big Bang Theory. You know, first there was darkness and void and blah, blah, blah. And in Big Bang Theory, first there was nothing. And then God said, let there be light. Well, then all the energy and matter in the universe was created in an instant. And then it actually is a reasonably good metaphor. And it, if you're trying to explain the Big Bang Theory to desert sheep herders 5,000 years ago, you might very well come up with something like that. I don't know. As I know that a lot of the stuff we do now, actually, we have to take quantum effects and relativistic effects. Forget even the GPS satellites. They have to compensate for the relativistic effects of the gravity well that they're in and stuff. I suppose that depends on what you mean by nothing. You know? Again, stuff quickly gets to the point where my mind cannot apprehend it in any detail. I can encompass the concept that things are weirder than I can understand real well, and so I have to look at it in a very simplified manner. And in doing so, this is kind of what it looks like. But I don't know. Possibly, Honey Bunny. Again, there's different infinities too. I have no idea. Is there a prior universe? If so, where did it come from? I don't know. It's beyond my pay grade. I don't worry about it. I worry about the kind of predictions that affect me in the real world, and the rest is entertainment, you know? What is matter? Matter is a form of energy. Vacuum energy creates energy from nothing. I don't know. Say it's pretty weird stuff. So, let's say I believe that they don't know it all right now, and if they did know it all, I wouldn't be able to understand it anyway. So if people can make predictions that have practical consequences that actually work out, I'll go with it. If they make predictions that don't work out, I won't. Well, the question is what the word suddenly means there too, Chris. So, yep. Could be Jean-Francois. I know that they say relativistic effects need to be taken into account. That's all I know. Again, way up here. I can live with that. The fact that somebody knows something I doesn't bother me in the slightest. Yep. It definitely appears to, Chris. I don't know. It's interesting to see people who don't understand things arguing on how it must be. Okay? I just don't really argue that much unless it's something I can. Usually it's because it doesn't match the data. But why worry about it? So, anyhow, I guess we'll call it an evening now that we've gotten out to the from the Big Bang to the end of the universe here. And cool, honey bunny. She says she learned Hebrew from a Jewish rabbi.
Cool.
Nice. It is my understanding that if you don't understand the original language something is written in, you can't get a perfect understanding of what it was, you know? Yeah, I think go ahead, honey bunny. Eva needs to get some rest. And thank you all for showing up. Thank you again for all your well wishes and prayers and stuff for Eva. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it.
So, yeah, thanks a lot for everything. Thanks for showing up. You guys have a good time, and we'll come back next week. I think I'll have stripped those last 2 resin cartridges by then, and we'll go from there. Happy prospecting, and keep it safe out there. Yep, exactly, Mr. Virtue. Little one, when you get the chance.